went through a divorce, got a new house, lost my big game table, but we'll get all that back at some point. So I'm going to play Clash of Giants here. Great game. I'm going to kind of walk through how it's played. You know how this goes. I don't spend a lot of time explaining it. We just jump right into the game. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump right in. So when you play this game, the first thing you're going to do is basically see if anyone wants to do early reinforcements. So what you're going to look at are units that are supposed to come in turn 2 and decide if you want to bring them in early or not. So I have to make a decision here. Do I want to bring in these units early or not? So I'm going to start with the Confederates. And the risk here is if they don't come in, if you fail your roll, they come in delayed, which really sucks. So we are going to give that a shot though. So we're going to come in and we're going to take early. And man, we see some Confederates up on the hill, some Union troops on the hill. We want to see if we can get early in early. How does that sound? So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a die. And if I roll a 1 to 4, they're basically going to come in early. If I roll a 1 to 3, they're going to come in early. 4 to 5, they're going to come in a turn late, and 6, 2 turns late. So I take early, roll my die, I got a 3. They are going to come in early, so they are going to come in this turn. That's pretty cool. Now, I can decide to put this chit right away into the active chits I'm going to have for this turn. But because they're coming down the road, I don't want them to activate first and get bottlenecked by Heat's division. So I'm going to, or actually, they're actually going to come in at this point. They're coming in at E, which is over here, potentially, and I'll get back to that in a second. So these guys are coming in early, which is pretty cool. The next thing I will look at is I'm going to look at Rhodes, and Rhodes is supposed to come in on C. And you know what? I am not going to gamble it. I'm going to, because you can decide what you want to do in turn order. I'm going to say I'm going to keep him on the side, and I'm going to let him be coming in on his scheduled time, which is turn 2. My last units coming in this turn are going to be Penders. And I kind of like that I've got early coming in early from here, which is, I know he's on his way. I'm not going to speed Pender up either. I'm going to have him come in on turn 2, or at least attempt to, and I'll explain that in a minute. So I'm going to leave him off to the side. So basically, after the Confederates do theirs, we are going to see if the Union would like to do any early arrivals. And basically, Buford's cavalry on the ridge sees, here's the noise, folks are coming. And he says, you know what, I'm going to try to get Reynolds, the rest of Reynolds' corps in earlier. So I'll go ahead and roll. I need a 1, 2, or 3. So I got a 1, so they will also come in on turn 2. And do I want to take a risk with the rest of Howard's division? Knowing that we hear some noise this way from early, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I got a 5. So 5's not good. So when I get a 5, he's going to enter basically a turn later than his current turn. So I will go ahead and on this section here, instead of saying coming in 2 in the early afternoon, these 2 units are going to come in basically a turn later than that in turn 3. So when you have units coming in delayed, you actually score victory points for the Union. So because it's their troops, each unit that's delayed, and I'll check that and I'll come back to that, it's going to score 1 victory point. Turn 1 up through basically the day of turn 1, it's double. So 2 units delayed are going to be 4 delayed victory points for the unit. Okay. After we decide who's coming in early, and we've done with that because that's everyone coming in turn 2. We now go back to turn 1. We stay back where we are now. And what we're going to look at now, if you follow the instructions, again, I kind of like the rule book, but I kind of don't. There's some stuff that I have to go back and forth multiple times that I think could have been written a little bit better, and I'll cover some of that hopefully through this. But now we look at reinforcements that were scheduled to be in this turn. Do they come in or not? So we have to roll a die for each formation scheduled to arrive this turn to see if they're delayed. So I had Heath at the start of the game. So everyone I rolled for earlier of folks coming in turn 2, I'm trying to bring them into turn 1. Determine if they're successes or not, or if I mess with them. And I kind of leave them off here for now, so I know that, I know kind of when they're coming in. So I know that they're coming in early this turn. I know they're coming in turn 3, and I know I haven't rolled with these, and that kind of helps me, and I'll explain that in a minute. So now I'm going to go to heats. Up here in B, they are supposed to come in this turn, and I'm going to roll a die, and on 1 to 4, it enters this turn. So 1, so they do enter this turn. I'm going to put them there. If I rolled a 5, it would be next turn on the 6 in 2 turns. Okay. On the determined turn of arrival, the formation will arrive at its original location. So they get to land there and they're good. I'm going to see if this unit of Reynolds, who again, when I say that, if you can look at that, it says 1. So it means they were scheduled to arrive this turn. I'm not pulling them early. I'm just seeing if they're delayed or not. I make my roll. 2, they made it. Now I'm going to roll for the 2 units from Howard's that were supposed to start in the same spot. They rolled a 3, they made it. So they arrived, and then the other portion of Howard's troops, because they were kind of split up coming in, 1 on the Taneytown Road, 1 on the Emmitsburg Road. Did they make it in? And 2, they did. So, okay, pretty good turn for everyone arriving. Now when I look at the chits that I can draw this turn, I basically have a couple things to look at. I have Buford, because his troops are here. So this is the chit that will activate Buford. I got the chit for Heath, because Heath's troops are on the board. And I got the chit for Reynolds, because Reynolds' troops are on the board. And because Howard was able to make it onto the board this turn, his chit is entered. But I'm also going to keep him to the side, because I want him to come in late as well. So I will draw him later and early later, and I'll explain how that goes. Also, as units come in, so does their artillery. So we have Heat's artillery that's going to be joining this turn. And that, I think, is... Nope. And we have Reynolds' artillery coming in this turn. And what you normally do with artillery, they do have a rule in the game that if you own Cemetery Hill, kind of gives you a layout of land, you can pull an artillery unit out of the chit, and you'll automatically have it for the turn. So I'm going to take Buford's artillery, because I'd like to have that available just in case I need it. So this will be available for the Union. I'm going to kind of keep this here. And then what you would then do is take your remaining chits, shuffle them up and draw them, and then basically determine which artillery unit you get this turn. So I have 4, so I would draw 2. So now playing an opponent, you can hide these and you find out at the last minute. So I got Howard's artillery available to be this turn, and I got Heat's artillery available to be this turn. So these, if you can see that, I'm going to keep those right here. Those are my artillery available for the turn. These are not available, so I'm going to stick them out by the York Road. I've got my 3 chits that I can pull this turn for activations. I've also got the 2 that I set aside because the units are coming in and I don't want to use them yet, because I don't want them to activate before I get folks into position. You have combat chits, 1 for each side. You declare your combat once per phase, so to speak. So I'll keep those here as well. I have 1 for the Confederates, so I'm going to keep it near the artillery, and I have 1 for the Union. And then you have, sorry, I'm kind of a little raspy on the voice here. You have a couple of chits here that are specific to the battle, and you'll get a separate battles rulebook. And when you open that up and you go through it, it'll tell you certain chits have to be drawn out of turn, and they apply it automatically. So in this case, the first chit that is drawn, per the rules of the battle, are this this chit here, which is a special command marker, which basically says on the first turn of turn 1 of July, it's the first chit played, it must be, and it gives you +1 to your roll. So what does +1 to your roll mean? they give you these handy great sheets that you, when you activate a unit, are going to roll on, and that's going to give you the movement points you have. Pretty self-explanatory. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to roll my die. So I got bad roll. So Archer and David are coming in. I rolled a 1. This did give it a +1 for a 2. So when I look at Heath, a 2 gives him a movement of 4. So, and then this, per the instruction, is now out of the game. Now, because that's a special command marker, if I get into contact with the enemy, I can attack the enemy by use of that. But I think that's going to be really hard to do with a movement of 4, but we'll see what happens. So I'll go ahead and make my movement. I'm on a road here. So road movement, I can go 1, 2, 3. And now normally, to make a move to here, it's 4. And normally you can't use road movement for 1 point if it's adjacent to an enemy. I know that sounds confusing. That's some of the stuff that I was kind of looking at, but basically, since this is open terrain anyway, I don't really even need the road, so I can move Archer's unit adjacent to Buford's cavalry over this little creek. And when I'm done with this activation, I can attack if I want to because of that special marker. Now I still have Heath up here, so I'm going to move him 1 because he's on a road. The forest doesn't apply. 2 because he's on a road. He doesn't pay the elevation for the hill. 3, 4, and he's at Hare's Tavern. So if I stop right here, I can make an attack. I can try to pull the cavalry out of there. But now the problem is I can't use my march movement with the rest of Heath's troops because they're going to get blocked. They're going to basically stop right here if I do that. And I kind of want to get them up. So other options I can do here, let's pull all this back, is basically like move these guys out of the way. So how would I do that? So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and threaten Buford's flank this way. I can have this unit go 1, because basically that's the forest. Then I'm going to come off the forest. I'm going to go between the cut here. I don't feel too exposed. 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to get to this river. Now I'm leaving the road open. And why is that important to me? If you start your movement on a road, each movement point is a quarter versus 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1 movement. 1, 2. Now I can't go adjacent to the enemy. I would have to stop. But I like that because that brings Heath up to the Pettigrew, up to the Spangler house. And then with road movement, you got to keep 1 space between you. It's basically your troops lined up. So I was able to bring Heath up. I'm able to kind of match Buford's flank here. Cavalry can't attack infantry. They're very weak. I know their job is basically to hold me up. So after I do that, we then go to basically the next SCM, which again is short for strategic command marker. And on turn 2, the command you have to play is Reynolds. So basically Reynolds has a command chit that activates at this point. And what that says is, I'm trying to find what I did with it. I think it flopped off the table. I will find it, but trust me, he's got a command chit that he activates now. That basically says, that's the automatic, the second chit played. It activates any of the 1 cores on the map, and it adds +1 to the roll. So he rolls a 4. 4 + 1 for him is a 5, and a 5 is a movement of 10. So where Heath's coming in very cautiously, Reynolds is like, man, we got to get up there. So how does a 10 movement work now? Well, we're going to start with the troops out here. So I got Wadsworth here, and he wants to get up here and reinforce this line because we know from history, McPherson's Ridge, we want to get up there and defend it. So he's going to go ahead and move basically 1, up the road 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And he's going to stop in the forest in front of the creek where he'll get, it's coming uphill, he's in a forest, and he's got a little creek in front of him. Next up will be Cutler's troops, and because they were within the command zone of each other, they can also activate as part of that unit. And units entering also get to benefit from that. But if my troops were spread out, there's a certain distance, and I'll get to that later and show it to you, where I couldn't do all this activation, I couldn't get into combat. And I'll explain to that when it occurs, but it doesn't occur here. So I get 10 movement, and I'm gonna go ahead and start the movement on him. 1, 2, 3, we're gonna go 4, 5, 6, 7, now I'm on the road, 8 on the road. Again, because I'm on the road, I can go up, that's 9, and then I'm gonna stop right here in the cut as well, 10. And remember, everything's a quarter move for me right now because this is gonna be complete road movement. So let's see how that works. So 1, 2, 3, 4 is one move. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 7. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 8. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 9. And then from here, the furthest I can get is right to 4411, staying on the road. I got to keep one space between. And then I just know that he can basically follow the same route, but he's got to stay one behind. So, man, that unit booked to get up there and face the threat. And if much like in the actual battle, if Heath, Archer, and Davis want to pour through here to kind of navigate it, they'll just have rifles pouring down on them and slamming them. Okay, so after those two are done, those strategic, those special command markers are then out of the game. I could have used them to attack if I initiated combat. I didn't, so I do not. Now I take my remaining 3 chits, Heath, Reynolds, and Buford. So in this case, some of these units may be able to activate again, and I shake them up, and let's say who activates. It's Reynolds. So Reynolds can activate again, so he will roll again. This time he got a 4, there's no +1 to the roll. And on a 4 for him, he is basically going to be able to get a movement of 8. So that's great positioning here. So he's gonna go ahead and he is going to occupy here. So he's gonna stay on the high ground. We're gonna bring this unit up. Now I don't need to use road movement anymore. I got plenty of movement. So I'm gonna come here and my last unit of Reynolds will come up right behind it and I will secure this hill. And you say, okay, well, you're really exposed here with the cavalry, and that may be the case, but I've got some really cool stuff. I'll show you how cavalry works in case they get attacked first. So the next chit pull I do is going to be Heath. So Heath has a chance to get into some combat right now. So he's going to go ahead and roll. Got a 6. That's a great number for him. So he can move, his units can move 8. So we're going to see some combat. So, man, he really wants to clear this cavalry. I'm really scared of this hill, but I know I've got reinforcements coming. So I am going to go ahead and move Heath and Davis over the creek for 1. And again, that is a creek. The rules specify. It's a little confusing on river and creeks, but it is a creek and it's +1 movement, so that costs 2. I'm going to get to here, which is 3. I'm going to go ahead and use this unit and go 1, 2, and then I'm going to come up here with 1, 2, 3, 1. So I'm really going to ignore Wadsworth on this side, and I'm going to try to bring my forces to bear on these units of cavalry. Now, because these units have nobody else around them but this, they can both attack that unit. Had I had another unit here, I couldn't do that. I'd have to pick 1 and 1 to attack because basically Wadsworth wouldn't sit idle while we're beating up the cavalry. Now the cavalry have a very special ability they can do. They basically roll a die, and if they roll lower than their tactical efficiency rating or equal to 4, they can retreat right before combat. So we're going to try that right here with Devin. He needs a 1, 2, 3, or 4. He can just leave as the units go up, and he does. He can retreat 4. I'm going to go 1, 2 because I want to hold the hill. So I'm going to stop right there. And now that's going to leave poor Gamble sitting trying to defend the creek. He also needs a 1, 2, 3, or 4 to pull back. He does. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, and he's also going to stop right here on the hill. So now you can see Heath has come up. But the Union was able to pull back. The cavalry did its job. I still got a unit out here that's stuck, and I'll show you what that happens now, because basically that's the last unit to go, which is Buford's. I can activate him to get him closer to his units. I'm going to let them hold the line, so he's just basically going to go one. He's not going to come into zone of control of any of these Union units. He's going to pop back up on the hill, and we are going to hold this hill. Okay? Now, sounds like a good place to stop there, right? Well, I do have some concerns. I do know, and I did hear some rumbling coming from this direction, and I have a feeling that I'm going to have some potential of units coming in this side of the board, and I kind of want to be ready to deal with them when they come in, if that makes sense. So give me 1 second. Okay, so when I rolled in the beginning for the units that weren't advanced or delayed, they just came when they were supposed to. I should have rolled to see if they actually come in their correct spot or not, because there are different spots they can shift to. So we're going to let that play out, because I did the same with everybody. Otherwise, the Union does have knowledge, and they do know that early is going to come in on E. So knowing that, and knowing that I've got a basic 10 movement with the cavalry, I might want to leave Heath up here and try to delay the entry of these troops coming in here. So let's see how we might do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to get to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to split up, and I'm going to bring Devon over to here to hold these roads, and I'm going to keep Gamble up here to hold this hill. Because what I do not want to have happen is a free route to Gettysburg without any delay. So I'm going to hold my right flank here, my left flank here. Buford's going to hold this side. So now I take the chits that I did not bring in, because I didn't want to delay the roads, and I let it out. And so early does come in now. So let's see how this worked out. Early, when he comes in, his chit is again added to the pool for next turn, so we'll add that here. He has all these troops coming in at E, and they're early, so they're going to come in right when they were supposed to. And I didn't get far enough, I'm sorry. Let's look at that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to go one on the hill and one yeah, I'm going to hold up right here and here. Okay? And now when I bring these troops in, I'm kind of stuck here. I'm going to roll for their movement. They got a movement of 2, not a good roll, so they're coming in very cautiously. That's a movement of 4. So if I wanted to come in 1, 2, 3, 4, I can only get to here. If I want to march up quick is what I'm going to want to do. I'm going to be spread out on this road, but that's what I'm going to go for. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1, 1, 2, 3, and now I got to stop at this creek. So if these, because I'm now adjacent and I'm on the road, if these cavalry did not get to here, I could have just basically marched in and took Gettysburg. And now I got to stay 1 apart from each other because I'm coming in. But you can see the threat now coming in from this side. It leaves my last chit basically being the Howard, the rest of Howard's course. So we're going to roll. He has a movement of 4. 4 for him is going to be a nice 6. So basically 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 3. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 6. So we are going to be, and again, keep a space between us, coming in here, and then same thing here, 6. The other way you can do it is 6 times 4 is 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. But I cannot be adjacent, but I am coming together on my roads. I can't, so you can see his troops are coming in here into Gettysburg. The cavalry did a great job of holding us up. Artillery was not used this turn, so this will go back to the artillery pool for next turn. So I'll slide all this stuff over. No combat, except for the one that I pulled or tried to do. So yeah, we did do one combat with Hood, and then we will come back and do turn 2 for you shortly. Thank you. After I fixed the two units from Reynolds Division, I forgot to bring in. So I was able to bring them in, check the video, and see that they would have came in. They would have reached about that part of the city with the command chit. And then on the next chit, when Reynolds was activated again, they basically were able to slide up into here, and the units that were here took this section. The cavalry then was able to pull back after the attack, and the elements on the left flank of the Federal cavalry were able to pull back to here, and then the right flank cavalry was able to march over to here, successfully blocking Early's kind of march into Gettysburg. So we're set up for a really good turn 2. You see Early coming in. You see the ridge really being held here against Heath. You can see Howard's troops marching in to get ready to support that cavalry classic. We got a lot of troops coming in next turn. We'll cover that in the next video, but basically you have Rhodes and Pender coming in for the Confederates. Nobody coming in for the Union. So this is a big turn. And because they are coming in on the turn, not delayed, not advanced, they might come in on alternate areas than where they came in historically, and we'll cover that on the next video. Thanks.